income you get on a daily basis, it's no easy task. You have to know the various options out there. For example, if you want to invest, what are the options out there? If you want to save, which institutions can you save? If you want to buy something, how can you, even if you want to go for debt, what level of debt should you take? All these things are things that the normal individual have to dedicate to themselves. So financial intelligence is simply being prudent as far as managing, spending, and then investing your money is concerned.
So what, is there an accepted way of being prudent?
There's no accepted way, but so for instance, if I'm talking to somebody and I'm trying to maybe draw a financial plan for the person, you always do this on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But a general understanding is that it should be one where the person's resources are being put to good use.
Okay.
That is like the key idea.
Okay. Jemima, so each time I talk to people who understand finance, two things they keep saying: savings, investments, savings, investments. I mean, Kingsley even started and said that, listen, I am an investor. I help you to teach you where to put your money and all of that. In that way, I want some clarity. What really is the difference between savings and investments? Because I'm thinking, my mind is always running, MFA. Okay, so I'm thinking, but I'm investing because I want to save the money. I don't want to keep the money with me. I'll spend it. So what's really the difference anyway, Jemima?
Thanks, MFA. This is quite a common question that most people normally ask, but I'll use this simple analogy. Imagine putting your money in a susu box and putting your money into a fixed deposit. The susu box is a sort of savings. When you put money in your susu box the whole year, you come back in December and you still have the amount that you have put in it. When you put your money in a fixed deposit for a year, you come back, you get your principal, then you get returns as well. So savings is, investment is putting your money into a savings that will yield results. But savings, it can or it cannot yield returns.
Okay.
That's the clear difference between the two.
Okay, good. Kingsley, in that way, what am I supposed to be doing? Which one am I taking to go and save, and which one am I taking to go and invest? Is it money that have been dashed, or money that I worked for? Money is in my hand.
Yes.
Which one goes to the investments and which one goes to the savings? Or you should choose one out of these two.
Ideally, we encourage people to invest more than to just save. Like Jemima pointed out, when you save, you end up getting the same money you put you put down at the end of the period. But when you invest, you have the chance of getting some additional return after the end of the period. So ideally, we recommend that people should invest. And when it comes to investing, there's always the various options. Hopefully, we'll get to that. That makes you invest, and then you minimize your risks too. But back to the question, when you have your capital, there is this common rule we normally tell people, and that is the 50-30-20 rule.
Okay.
So the 50-30-20 rule is you breaking down your income or your salary in this component. 50 are your needs. So the key things you have to spend on, like food, like clothing, like accommodation. And these days, communication has become more like a need because you have to buy data and airtime. So you can have that. So these are essentials. When you are done with that 50% deployment, then you have 30-20. Now, this 30-20, you can balance it based on how you would want to use it. You can decide to put 30% of that. That means if you are earning 1,000 cedis, so 30% is 300 cedis. After you factor in your wants of the 500 cedis, you can put that remainder in an investment. And then 20% is for your want, where maybe you want to buy an ice cream, you want to go out to have fun, things that you can do away with. You spend that capital. So when you have this capital, this amount that you are allocated, it helps you to know, okay, when I get this amount of money, whether as a salary or as an income or as a gift, this part should go into the key things that I need to survive.
Okay.
And the remaining part should go into investment. Now, it's worth mentioning that you should be very flexible around it. So 50-30-20 might not work for everybody.
Right.
Because some people might have higher need, maybe their accommodation cost is skyrocketing, so they cannot have a whole 50%, 30% going into investment. But whatever be the case, you should be flexible around it. You build a plan according to your own personal self. Some people even do more than 50% in investment. Some people do only 10%. But there should be a way where you are spreading your money across your need, your wants, and then your investment.
Jemima, knowing this, let's explore. does your environment really influence your financial intelligence or financial literacy culture? You know, what would encourage me? Is it the economy? Is it the financial systems that are put in place? Is it what the financial services are offering? What are the factors that will influence a person to want to even take a look at financial intelligence?
Okay, MFA, when we look at financial intelligence, we are looking at how smart you are when it comes to your finances. And in going about it, one of the key steps that you do is first to understand the situation. So in understanding the situation or gathering information, you definitely have to look at what is happening in the economy. So for instance, you see that prices of goods and services are going up. What we look at is inflation is going up. You see the indicators coming up. And one thing I must say is when you are gathering your information, you must gather it from the right sources.
Okay.
People, in times like this, you see people sending rumors, a lot of predictions, which sometimes don't even represent the reality. So in doing your intelligence, gather the right information from the right source. Once you have this information, what do you do with it? You analyze with it. You've seen inflation going up. Definitely, it is being driven by prices going up. What is it going to affect me as an individual? Does it mean I need to adjust my budget? Because if last month I budgeted fuel to be 100,000 cedis, I should have in mind that going into November and December, fuel prices definitely is going to go up. So that's what the whole financial intelligence is. Gather your information, analyze it, then now you can make the predictions to help you manage your finances.
Okay, good. Kingsley, would you say that we're in financial crisis? From what you said.
You know, some could argue that we are in some could argue that because the general concept of financial crisis is where you are seeing asset value like falling, the price of it falling. You are seeing people being scared, so trying to take their money away from financial institutions. So you are seeing some form of currency crisis. So some could argue that all these components are currently prevailing. We are seeing our city depreciate more than 45% since the beginning of the year. We are seeing people trying to take some form of money out of financial institutions. And we are seeing again on the bond market, we are seeing prices of the bond falling. So there are some components that renders it's about. I wouldn't say we are in a full-blown financial crisis here.
Okay.
I think
what does a full-blown financial crisis look like?
So when, for example, when we do get there, you'll see people like there could be a longer queue. People just wanting to take their money from banks. There is that desperation to take your money out of the financial system. We are not currently there yet, but we have the worrying signs, which we have to, as a country, look at addressing, because there's growing concern. Just recently, over the weekend, we saw some information at Data Bank were saying that they could not honor withdrawals within a relatively short time. It led to some form of concern among depositors. So all these things are things that we should be able to manage. And as Jemima said, what we need right now is right education, right information to the people. Because when we have that, that is when we keep situations at a very normal pace, whilst we wait for the government to also introduce their measure. So back to your question, the signs are there, the signs are worrying, but I wouldn't fully jump to say we are in a full-blown crisis yet.
Okay, good. Then, Jemima, I know that this is not the first time we're having a conversation such as this one, you know, about finances or budgeting and all of that. And also I've been learning from Kingsley that if you come by your income, whether it's a gift or whatever it is, you must apply some rule. It may not be necessarily the 50, 30, 20, but you must apply something, get to do some investments, you know, whatever you want to do with it. But I'm thinking that if we had this conversation last year, all right, then by now, this is the time I have to go and take the investment to be spending.
Yes.
Because every time you guys talk to me, it's as if you're always telling me to save, and invest. But there's never a day you are telling me that, okay, it's now time to go and take the investments. Right. So I want to know, when really are you supposed to be applying some financial intelligence? I mean, given the general rule that every day of your life you must apply some financial intelligence. But I'm asking that practically, when and how?
Thanks, MFA. So just like what Kingsley has rightly said, we are not in normal times. And if we are not in normal times, we need to take decisions that are not normal. So like you said, a financial intelligence, we apply it on our daily life. And going forward, you ask yourself, what are some of the effects of the crisis? Like Kingsley rightly said, officially we haven't had any communication that we are in crisis. Unlike the 2009 that the US had their financial crisis, officially we are not in crisis. But I'll say that we are in crisis because the indicators, when you look at year to date, the dollar against the CD depreciating by 37.2%. You see inflation in June at 19% and currently at 22.5%. MFI tells us that we are not in normal times. But the intelligence here is how are we going to manage it? This is the time that we need to build emergency fund. And in building emergency fund, it comes from your savings. It comes from your investment. So this is not the time for you to rush to take off your money. You need to keep it as a buffer for you to go through this situation.
Okay, so now you can go, I can call Kingsley right now and say, Kingsley, I know like that money, are we able to take some percentage of it for emergency, for what is happening now? Because you helped me budget my life last year, but I'm not sure you budgeted thinking that my petrol will be a double of it. So is this quite a time? I'm not saying we are running to the bank, but would you be surprised if I called your phone and said that, Kingsley,
No, I get you, and I think we have to first take a step back.
Okay.
When ideally you are helping someone to budget or to plan, there's one key thing which is supposed to be there. You ask the person what the goal is.
Right.
So when it comes to investment, we don't invest in vacuum or isolated. It's not like you said, do I keep investing till what end? People invest for so many reasons. So let's assume you were investing with the hope that the proceeds of that, you would use it to buy a car.
Right.
Now, once you hit that goal, you are allowed to then take that money to then buy the car.
Okay.
For instance, somebody too is investing towards retirement.
Right.
Then you are not yet there. So then it wouldn't be prudent for you to touch that money. Similarly, somebody could be investing to start a business. When the capital that the person was looking for, he or she has been able to achieve it, the person can dip their hands into the investment account and then use that to buy. So when people are investing towards goals, there is that room which basically is once you've been able to achieve that goal, you are free to take the money to use it. But then beyond that, there's always that part around planning for your finances where you have to include emergency. So in situations like this, we are seeing people, one, being laid off from their workplace. How do they even fend for themselves? It's prudent if you made that right allocation. You now can go to your investment or to your savings, take some part of the money, and then use that whilst you are looking for a job.
Yourself.
Exactly. Okay. We have people whose income in the informal sector possibly may have fallen. We are seeing people having being faced with escalating food prices and all these things, which on a normal day, their budget is not enough to help them cater for it. You are free to take some little amount of money to support your lifestyle. But then what our advice is, when next you are planning, always have a separate account, an emergency account. So that in the future, when there is an emergency, you can touch it. Now, for emergency, define it according to yourself. One thing we try to tell people is that we don't want to make the whole financial planning journey so rigid that there isn't any flexibility. So you can create your emergency, open an account, and say every month I'll be putting 100 cedis because I don't know what the future holds for me. Someone who can create and you say the emergency is targeted towards illness, somebody funeral, somebody towards let's say job loss. So you can define the rule for your own emergency account and then set aside some small money, even if it's just 10 cedis or 50 Ghana cedis, be putting it in it. Eventually, when the emergency does unfold before your eyes, you have an account to support your lifestyle.
Let me stay with you. Jemima, hang in there, I'll come to you. But is this only limited to persons? Can a company also decide to say that I want to have emergency accounts, whatever it is, for the company?
Certainly.
So that if there's no return on investment or whatever it is, such crisis where you have to depend on people to feed in the business for you to make money, would it be prudent for you to fall on your emergency?
Certainly.
Okay?
The key thing is, again, when you are, given that it's an emergency account, which ideally anybody can create, whether a person or a company might have a different term
Okay.
for that account, but the whole concept is that it serves as a buffer during period of uncertainties. Even at the government level, we also have our own form of like emergency account that we use to cushion the country's finances during uncertain periods. So anybody at all, whether informal sector, can create that form of account.
So for a company, should they create that emergency fund from their capital they were about to start, or they should create it from the profit they were making over the period?
Ideally, from your profit.
Okay.
And then if you have the room to make additional capital contribution, you can do that.
Okay. Right, Jemima, so we are where we are now. Financial intelligence is on the table. My friends and I are watching it. We want to start it. Kingsley started off by giving us some guiding principles, 15-30 rule. Kingsley will go into details. But again, we have a pen and a paper. I want to start applying. I want to go into that financial literacy, that financial intelligence. And I like to think that there must be a plan, which will be called financial plan. Okay. Yeah. And there may be some variables or components in that financial plan. Okay. Shall you want to start with us with a plan that you need for?
Okay.
Yeah.
MFA, you're already there. You are very financially intelligent. Yes, because you mentioned a financial plan, and that's one of the comprehensive strategies that you can use in financial intelligence.
Okay.
So when you come to your financial plan, it has to do with your strategies. First, what is your goal? So let's take it, for instance, in December, we all know because of the festive occasions, there's quite a lot of pressure on your finances. So you want to have a good festive occasion. That's your goal. How are you going to meet that? So you know that from beginning of the year, or let's say even Q4, I'm going to put aside, let's say your target is to have a budget of about 2,000 cedis so that you could buy foodstuffs for the family, drinks and rice and oil as usual. How are you going to save that money from your regular income? So you had planned that, okay, every month I'll put aside, let's say 100 cedis. When I get any extra money, I put aside 200. Then you know that by December, this and this is what I'm going to use it for. And one thing I might say is in financial planning, your ultimate output is what we call the budget. So the budget will help you to combine both your revenue or your income, the monies that you are going to make, as well as the expenditure that you are going to do. So simply put, the income is, or your income is anything that increases your wallet, whilst the expenses is anything that reduces your wallet. So MFA, for us ladies, anything that affects our purse. So if something increases your purse, it is your income. If something reduces your purse, we call it an expense. This is one of the things that we need to strategically take. And one thing is, it starts with your mindset. I want to do a financial plan, and that is the best way to start it off. Then you could go about, because at a point, there's going to be the need for discipline. It is not going to be easy. Most of the time you have budget and you just choose it off. So let's say, for instance, you're an SME. You had budgeted your projections for the year. You had done for the quarter. Then looking at how things are changing, budgets are not fixed. They are flexible. You need to come back to really look at your forecast. What were the assumptions? Your fuel assumption prices. What were the prices that you had put on inflation? So you see that quite recently we've had a lot of price reviews coming from a lot of companies. It is not mainly because they want to, because their projection had been thrown off. And like Kingsley said, you always have to have a buffer. But when the buffer is not enough, you need to go back and revise it. Definitely to eat into your profits, but not when it is making you make a loss. Definitely you have to come back and adjust your prices.
Okay. Beautiful. Kingsley, any other perspective to what you should put in your financial plan?
Yes, and one thing I'll just add is your debt plan. You know, most
What's that?
Debt. You know, some people have debt.
Okay.
But then the unfortunate thing is they go with the flow vibes.
Okay.
When you are drawing a good financial plan, assuming you have debt already, you should have a plan in paying off that debt.
Okay.
Now that debt could be a formal debt like what you're going to take from a bank, or it could be a debt that I borrowed from MFA. It is still something that I need to be aware of it and then plan. If I took 1,000 cedis from MFA, how much should I set aside every month to be able to fully pay it off? And in that case, I don't have any form of issue. But then you see people planning among every other thing, and then they don't plan for their debt. So the person they are owing calls, that the lender calls them, they'll be like, oh, big man, my short you. But no, you should have made that component. You quick loan, then they end up defaulting because they didn't, it was an afterthought. So debt planning should be part. The second part is, even if you want to take on new debt, that is, you want to go and borrow, you need to ask yourself, do you have room or space for that? That is, if you borrow, based on the interest rate, will you be able to afford that particular interest rate payment? What are you going to use the money for? Will that money bring you additional income that can help you pay off your debt? So there needs to be some component that addresses how you are managing your debt. For those who already have existing debt, and for those who want to go and borrow, they need to have that part figured out in their financial plan.
So I know that Jemima mentioned what the budget is, what the plan is, but I want you to again reiterate, what's that clear-cut difference? Financial plan and budget.
So financial budget is embedded within a financial plan. In drawing your financial plan, you will need some form of budget, but it's just a component of it. So financial plan is the umbrella, which is essentially concerned with how you are managing your resources in a very smart and prudent way. And to guide you in doing that, you might set aside or develop your own budget that will guide you towards it.
Okay. Not to promote any brands or anything, but Jemima, what are some of the very simplest facilities that can be available to that young person who's really struggling already, but they genuinely know that they have a plan, and so they want to start, all these things that we are discussing? What's the feasible one? What type of financial plan can you recommend, really, to a very, like me?
Yes, Emefa. So normally what we do during coaching and advising is we look at the lifestyle of the person involved. Okay. So for instance, like you, then we look at your other circumstances. So like Kingsley said, in your debt planning, do you have existing loans? Are these loans fixed or variable?
What's the difference?
You see that, okay, so you see that we are not in normal times. Every month you see that the Monetary Policy Committee, they announces the policy rate. That's the minimum lending rate at which Bank of Ghana lends to the banks. And you see that for the past months, it's been rising. Then you ask yourself, what is the implication on my loan? And now you could see that most of the banks are even proactive. Once we see an increase in our monetary policy rate, they quickly send you a note that the loan that you have with us is going to change. So that tells you that whatever financial plan you have put down, that I'm going to clear my debt, every month I'm paying 1,000 cedis. You see that every month it is increasing. You see it's increasing by 200, by 100. So these are some of the things that helps you to know that, no, we are not in normal times. I need to readjust my lifestyle. And like Kingsley said, in looking at your debt structure, you can see that, okay, if this loan is fluctuating, the rate is normally for the short-term loans and medium-term, that's between 1 year to 5 years, you see that the rate fluctuates compared to the long-term loan, the mortgages, which are 10 years, 15 and 20 years, which are a bit fixed compared to the short-term loan. You see that all these things keep changing. So normally you look at the lifestyle, and what we say is start with what you have, the resources you have. So you don't need a particular app or a particular format to do it. This is MFA. Next year, I want to buy my new car or change my car. That's your financial goal. Now we come to the strategy. How are you going to do it? Am I going for a bank loan? Will I be able to bear the interest? Or I do a little bit of savings? There it comes to you that, okay, perhaps my single source of income is not enough to cover up for this kind of savings that I need to do. Then you ask yourself, are you going to look for other stream of income? Are you going to start a new business to help you achieve it? Or are you going to put your investment somewhere where you can get higher returns? So these are the things. So look at the resources you have. What is your money? What is your investment? What are the assets? For instance, you're a young guy. You have 1,000 or 2,000. Okay, I need to save money for my school. Okay, can I turn this motorbike into a delivery services? Now there's very high demand for delivery, and you even to make it easier, you drive it yourself. So you see that this is the resource that you had, which was the motorbike and the money that you had. Then you put it into an investment, which is the delivery business that you have done. Then with time, you see that the money that is coming in, are you going to put it into a fixed deposit? Are you going to put it into a short-term? Or are you even going to start paying gradually for your next goal that you want to achieve? Okay. So MFA, like we always say, start with what you have and you get there.
Beautiful. Kingsley, let's get practical. I'm sure you have friends, your family, common lifestyles. What are some of the things we can legit drop in order to be able to cushion ourselves, having this financial plan and all of that in mind? I was talking about weddings.
Well, the weddings are also important. You have to go for them. But just to add to what Jemima said before I continue. So a simple tool you can use for your financial plan is an Excel. Okay. If you have an Excel sheet, for those who you can download it on your phone or on your laptop, and then you can simply list down all the things she said. So your income, these are the various income sources. This is the amount you're expecting. Your expenses.
Should you put all of the incomes together and have total income?
Yeah, so you have the breakdown, but then you have your total income. So maybe you do side gig. So side gig 1, 2,000, side gig 2, 3,000, total income 5,000. Then you go to your expenses. And Excel is a very simple tool that you can use to be able to track it. So at the end of every month or every week or what you decided on, you can come back and ask yourself, what I allocated? Have I spent beyond that particular amount? If I put 500 cedis for food, am I actually spending 500 cedis or I'm going beyond that? Then you adjust accordingly. Whether you have to adjust your lifestyle, and that leads to the question, what then can you drop? Because if you put 1,000 cedis for like expenses for the month, and now you look at it and you're like, you are spending more. Yeah. The very first thing you can drop is most of the wants components. Remember I told you about the structure, the needs, the investments, and the wants. So let's start with the wants. These days technology is out there, so where you have to go and meet somebody, if you can call the person instead.
My co-host said it.
When you drop that, you've dropped fuel expenses. That is one of the key factors which is eating up a lot of budget right now.
Listen, if you're my friend and you're watching, it's Kingsley. Kingsley says she didn't come, says we should talk on phone. That's number one.
Like that's one. So meetings, informal conversation, you can do that. Two, if you are somebody that kind of like, let's say, clubs or like you happen to be very active during the night time over the weekend.
Then how will the clubs also survive?
Yeah, but you can then, it's your personal survival. If you're not alive, you cannot go to the club. So you can decide, maybe you used to go every week. Okay. You can now decide to do, maybe once a month. I'm not saying maybe stop, because if I say stop, you might not be able to stop. But if you were doing it every week, maybe now do it once a month. Yeah. You save on all the money the fuel you will take to transport yourself. You save on the expenses you will incur at that place. So that's the second one. 3, eating out. These days, it's becoming expensive to eat out. Restaurant, like there was a time I went to a particular restaurant. In December, the food I bought was around, I think, 80 Ghana cedis. I went there last month and it was around 140 Ghana cedis.
Oh, Ghana,
just for a plate, like even let's even use beans first with. Last time I was speaking to analogy, when I was on campus, I could even spend less than, like 3-4 years ago, I could spend less than 5 cedis of beans. Yeah. Now you need to spend, you could even spend above 20 or 30 cedis on beans. So
let me ask you, that 80 that rose to 140, where did you take it from? Was it from your savings, your needs, your wants? Where did you take it from? Or it depended on what you were going to do there?
It was still within my needs because I have a food budget.
Okay.
So but then what it told me was that I have to now look at ways of adjusting my food budget upward. At home. Exactly. So that's the thing. So cut down on your external, like your transport. Minimize your activeness during like the nightlife. And I'm saying this because it's one of the key places that is draining a lot of young individuals. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we find a lot of folks going to the bars, to the clubs, to the restaurants.
Do you know what it's called?
What is it called?
Yawabonting.
Yeah, I want to be outside. Exactly. So find a way to cut that. Find a way, if you can cook, buy the ingredients, and the ingredient buy in bulk. Don't buy in smaller bits. If you can, buy in bulk, cook. Or if you have somebody who can help you cook, it's better than eating out. So these three things, when you're able to do it, you are now in control of your food budget, you are in control of your transport, and you are also in control of your general expenditure. And these are normally the three areas that tend to.
I'll stay with you. Talking about buying in bulk, now you've seen how the price fluctuations are. Would you advise that people still buy in bulk, or they buy what they need for now, anticipating that prices will stabilize slightly or drop slightly before they buy in bulk?
I'll still say buy in bulk. Buying in bulk has always worked in the olden days, and it's even now working in this current time. Let me give an example. Oil prices for some time were at reasonable amount. Just last week or last 2 weeks, there were reports that oil prices were going above 1,000 cedis.
Yeah.
Assuming you bought maybe a decent quantity back then, you would have saved yourself from that revised price. And the way the current situation is, fuel prices keep increasing, and fuel prices tend to have a direct impact on food price. So I'm not seeing the situation just to cushion yourself. I would advise that we don't know what the future holds, but the likelihood for food prices to go up is very high. So rather, if you can afford, instead of buying 1 kilogram of rice, buy 5 kg of rice. If you can buy, instead of buying 1 liter of oil, if you can afford, buy more than that. And when you do that, you are in control of your finances.
Jemima, maybe my final question to you would be that, so there's a question here. It says that, good morning, MFR. I earn 600 Ghana cedis monthly. And please, can you help me budget, because I end up spending more than the salary? I know you'd be asking a few follow-up questions. Do you live with your parents? Yeah. What are you paying rent? Transport's looking like and all. But roughly, if you didn't have this information available to you, how are you able to advise this person who says he or she earns 600 cedis?
Thanks, MFA. So what I would say is, in the current situation that we have, it is very prudent that we are financially independent. Right. That is, you are in charge of your resources. Yes, whatever you earn, you are able to spend within. Because definitely no one is having it easy. We are all managing. So for our sister who is earning 600, we are trying to be financially independent. So you earn 600. You need to allocate. So what we say is do a percentage. So food is going to take, let's say, 30% of this amount. Your transportation. So depending on, so sometimes what has even happened nowadays is, if you look at the fact that you travel to work every day, which is becoming too much than your salary, is there possibility of even renting? But sometimes you look at the amount you spend on fuel, or even if you take transport, it's costing you an average of, let's say, 1,500, 2,000. It's even better if you rent a place closer to your workplace. If she's working and she needs to take transport, is it possible for her to get a relative or somebody who stays close to where she works, so that she can save some money on it? Even in the midst of she earning 600, she needs to put aside some money, even if it's 10%. 10% of this 600 is 60 cedis or 50 cedis. Put it aside. Sometimes you get so dry that even credit or data. And that's where you see how 50 cedis or having an emergency fund is very important. So aside her food, aside her transportation, aside the basic needs that she needs, accommodation, she needs to put aside some money out of this 600. So even if it's 50 cedis, put it somewhere where you can always have access to. Okay. And one thing I must say is, in this current situation, let us be aware of investment risks. We are all in the bid to make money. Oh, I want to do this. Somebody will come, oh, this oil, you can buy it today at 1,000 and you sell it tomorrow at 1,500. Wow. How can you make 50% profit overnight? These are the kind of things that are happening. So let us first be aware that there's a risk on investment, and also we should be mindful of where we are taking information from. And always take a second opinion. It might be good to you, but when you discuss it with somebody, the person will ask 1 or 2 questions, and you realize that, no, I need to really rethink about this decision that I'm taking.
Okay. Jemima, thank you so much for joining us today. I will let you go and then I'll wrap with Kingsley here. Kingsley, question for you. My friend Noble from Ibuakwa says that he wants to know more about treasury bills and he needs more explanation on it.
Yes, so treasury bill, I just try to make it very simple.
Right.
It's just like a loan you are giving to the government.
Okay.
But then it's normally you get it or you access it through the various financial institutions. So even though you are giving the loan to the government, you don't go to the Flagstaff House to go there. So you just go to like a commercial bank, for instance, and then they will make that accessible or available to you. Now, with treasury bill, there are normally 3 maturities. When we say maturity, it simply means the period where you are due to be repaid the amount you invested. So if you invested, let's say 1,000 cedis, and the maturity is 3 months, it means after the end of the 3 months, you have your money that you invested given back to you. We also have the second option, which is 6 months. So you normally see that also quoted for most treasury bill. And the last one is 1 year, which is normally quoted as 364. So you decide to choose which one you want to do it. But then I would say that treasury bill is one of the risk-free instruments available. That having said that, now we are in very extraordinary times. There have been conversations here and there among some restructuring and stuff. So there's, let me say, some form of like noise happening around. But on a very normal day, a treasury bill is a way to be able to make some decent money. So if he or she can go to a commercial bank and then assess that. It's based on, I said, we are in a very, we have to first, he or she has to first speak to the bank to understand what the risk is, because there is some form of discussion going on given our access to the IM facility.
Should we tell them? Should we tell them what the discussion is? so would you say that the kind of treasury bill benefits you would get through Bank A will be the same that you get in Bank B because it is determined by the government?
So normally there is some smaller differences because the various banks bid for it.
Oh, right.
But then there isn't some huge variance.
Differences.
But then when you pick the rate, if you go to EcoBank, the rate that EcoBank might offer you might slightly differ from the rates that, but it is generally within. There is this, let's say, range that it would fall. It's normally, it's not so
different.
Big. So if he or she has a bank, the first point can be the bank. Talk to your bank. First, like I said, understand the risks, because treasury bill on a typical day is a risk-free. Risk-free means that the risk that you are going to lose your money is very low. But then have a conversation with your bank. Let them advise you on the one. You have to be, should you go for a 91-day treasury bill or a full-year treasury bill? Talk to them. They can be able to advise you. And then you can, if you want to still go ahead, invest in it.
Right. Thank you. Is there any question you needed me to ask you that I didn't ask, or anything that you want to clarify? Or,
no, yeah. I'll just say, and I think Jemima mentioned that in her closing remarks, but then people, there's in the times we are in, there's something which could easily come up, and that is desperation. You are always asking yourself, how can you make that 1 cedi become 2 cedis, that 2 cedi become 3 cedis? So the very first thing is that don't be desperate in this time. We are not in normal times, but try to avoid anything that is too good to be true. So you hear of a friend telling you, let's go and invest in 1,000 cedis, we can make 700 cedis after 2 weeks. Be wary of that particular information. So avoid Ponzi scheme. Avoid anything which is judgmental. Anything which is too good to be true, avoid it. The other...
Kingsley, sorry, quickly touch on forex trading and the role it plays in all this financial conversation we're having.
So forex is simply foreign exchange. Foreign exchange is simply, so forex trading is simply you trading currency. So it is normally done ideally by professionals who decide to bet against the rise or fall of a currency relative to another currency. And in that particular bet or decision, they can make some form of like profit when the market or when the currency goes in their way. So simply put, if for example, a professional forex trader made a bet that maybe let's say the dollar would fall by a particular percentage to let's say the pounds. If it moves in the way he predicted it, he tends to make that gain. But one thing I'll be quick to add is there is a lot of noise sometimes on social media that, hey, do Forex. I did say that Forex is ideally done by professionals. So if you hear of anything where somebody is guaranteeing that Forex trading will make you get a lot of money. Forex trading, know that it is a lie.
Right.
Because there is some risks. You can even lose your money in Forex. Because I said, you are making a prediction that a currency will move in a particular way. Ooh. There isn't any certainty. So as much as possible, if you want to do Forex trading and you want to do it yourself, spend some time to first learn. What some Forex account do is they have like demo account. Demo is where you are trading but not with actual cash. So you can use that to master your skills. If you can't, you can talk to a professional and then they will know how best to manage it. So that is for those who want to do Forex. The last thing on what you should be doing in this current time is you should have the mindset of capital preservation. Capital preservation means know that every $1 is precious in this particular economic situation. So don't be making reckless decisions. Decisions that could lead you to lose that one cedi is something that you should avoid as much as possible. Get adequate information. If you want to invest, ask the right questions, speak to the right people before you put in the money. If you want to start a business, ask the right questions, speak to the right people before you do it. If you want to spend on something, make some comparison. This site is saying 5 cedis. Can I get it elsewhere? The same thing at 4 cedis. Do that due diligence because the key is to ensure that you first don't lose your money. Right. And then when you're able to do that, then you now ask yourself, how can I even increase that money? And then you now look at the various options that are available to you.
Thank you so much, Kingsley. Where can we find you?
So I'm very active on social media.
Oh, nice.
So I'm on LinkedIn, Kingsley Otre. On Twitter, Kingsley Otre across board. Or you can even Google my name, Kingsley Otre. My various socials will come. On Twitter, my username is SK_Otre. The Otre is OTCHERE. So you can send me a DM. I'll respond to that. But across LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Kingsley Otre, you easily find me.
Okay, guys, so Noble, I see that you have loads of follow-up questions on that personal investment that you wanted to do that you don't have clarity on. Maybe you should check out Kingsley on his socials and then follow him, and then you can ask these personal questions and have some clarity before you go on with your decision. As well, you can learn a thing or two on our Money Talk segments here on the AM Club. We give you like quick fix on how to save money well, or let's say, everything about finances. So you really should not be missing the AM Club, yeah? We're kind of like that. Kingsley, thank you so much
for joining us. Thank you very much, Eva, for having me. And thanks to your wonderful audience for sticking with us throughout the show.
Look at that. Jemima, are you still on? If you can share with me how we can find you and your social media handles.
Thanks, MFA. So on social media, I'm the Finance Gem. So on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, do join the Finance Gem train for our daily finance tips. And on YouTube, I have financial videos. So on budgeting, if you want to know how to budget, insurance, it cuts across. Just look for Finance Gem. And I must say that, MFA, thanks very much for the opportunity. What I'll leave the audience is, we are not in normal times. You are not alone. If you are facing difficulties, we are all in this together.
Right.
Thanks very much.
I thank you, Jemima. Kingsley, I should have asked you what's the meaning of Sikam Pedidi, but somebody asked a question quickly. Okay. What's the difference between TBS and bonds? Is it treasury bills, I guess, and bonds? You already told us what treasury bills is.
I think the person, yes. So let me quickly touch that. So I'm just trying to make it very simple for the ordinary user. So treasury bill and bond. So the bond, I'm looking at government bond.
Yes.
Government bonds.
Yes.
So treasury bills and government bonds are, let me say, instruments or let's say products or facilities that are made available by the government. So when you buy a government bond, you are in essence giving a loan to the government. Okay. And in return, they promise to pay you back some form of interest, which in the bond market, we call it coupon. It's just a change in the name. By simply means interest. Okay. And then they also promise to pay you back the money when it's also mature. So it's just like you giving a loan to a regular person and then
they pay you
back. Okay. The key difference we could say is the timeline. So government bonds, treasury bill, like I explained to you, it's normally 91 days, 6 months, and then 1 year. But government bonds can go beyond that. You can do a 2-year bond, a 5-year bond, a 10-year bond, 15-year bond. Even recently, we issued a 30-year bond, and we have 50 years. So the timelines
timeline.
differ. Now, for you to assess a bond, if the person also wants to have information on that, you can speak to, again, your financial institution.
Yeah.
You can speak to, you can go to Data Bank, IC Securities, Black Stars Advisors, Cal Bank Brokerage.
I'll send them an invoice. Be guided, Kingsley.
You can speak to any of them. And
Be guided. Thank you, Kingsley.
They can help you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Jemima, thank you, and do have a great day. I've also seen that you're sending me, Kwesi, you're sending me some videos of lotto writers on demonstration for their 30% restoration instead of 20%. We'll look into that, and then I'll let Ajwa, our team, Ajwa Tinkrama, follow up on that, and then bring it to the news for you, okay? But right now, though, do stay with me. Your hostess with the mostest, Miss Drew, is still in Rwanda. Do stay. Travel Tuesday coming up shortly.